Alrighty. Well, welcome to our webinar, our content marketing tell-all. We've got a number of members from our account and content team here today to tell you 5 things we wish you knew. I'm going to let everybody else introduce themselves real quick, but my name's Erin Jordan, and I'm an account manager here at Keystone Click.
I'm Nicole Morton. I'm the Director of Marketing Operations.
I am Abby Radawan, and I am the Digital Content Manager here at Keystone Click.
Hi, I'm Hannah Brousseau, and I'm the Account Coordinator here at Keystone Click.
Awesome. Without further ado, let's get going. So this is a quick summary of what we'll be telling you, the 5 things as a teaser. I'll let you look at this slide real quick, but we're going to get into each one of these a little bit more in depth. So let's go ahead and move on to point number 1.
All right, so the first thing we're going to cover is when we're developing content and we're developing a content strategy, how we choose the topics that we're going to create content around. So this is this data is from a study that SEMrush did. If you don't know what SEMrush is, it's an SEO tool, and they do some content. They have some content features as well that's widely used in the industry. And they did this study. They did a survey of content creators, asking them what they felt makes their content perform better, regardless of what type of content it is. And I think the biggest thing to take away from this is that all of these percentages are less than 50%. So if you're doing all or some of these things when you're developing your content strategy or developing your content, you're already ahead of more than half of other content creators. The biggest 2 things that I would point out is audience research and SEO research or keyword research. And competitor research as well is kind of the big 3 that we really take into account when we're creating content. And I'll get into that a little bit more on the next slide. All right, so the most important thing when you're creating your content and creating your content strategy is that your content should always be audience first. As much as as easy as it is to kind of get caught in a cycle of creating content that you really like, or your coworkers really like, or maybe even your competitors really like, at the end of the day, those probably aren't the people that you want to bring into your business as engaged partners and engaged clients. So knowing your audience is the first really big thing to creating successful content that is also really valuable for your audience. A few things to consider to kind of get you started once you're considering what kind of topics to create for your audience. Once you've done that research, you know them well. What kind of questions do they have? Those could be questions that your customers actually ask you on the day in and out of your business. What are their pains? What do you hear from them that is a pain, whether it's regarding your service or not? It might just be a pain in their life that could still be something that you address or you solve, or you can just create content around. What kind of content does your audience prefer? This goes as far as, do they prefer, maybe they prefer like a static graphic, maybe they prefer a photo, maybe they prefer a video, maybe they prefer a long form text, but also where do they prefer to consume that content as well? They might prefer social media or print, or maybe a TV ad, whatever it is. You want to make sure that you are showing up in the places that your audience already is interacting in. And then finally, what terms is your audience already searching for in relation to your business? And this really speaks to that SEO piece. Doing keyword research not just helps you obviously boost your rankings in search engines, but also helps you find out what people are looking for in regards to your products or services. So if you can kind of grab hold of some key things that you see people are doing a lot, or you see people are asking a lot on search engines, that's a really great place to start with your content to start creating conversation online. And then I would say the final point, as far as when you're creating your content strategy, and you want to make sure that your audience is first, and you want to make sure that you're saying the things that your audience is interested rather than the things that maybe you think are important, is that more value is always better than more content. It's especially tempting now in kind of the digital environment we live in that is so super saturated, to think that you need to be churning out content constantly all the time. But I think we all know that creating content is really time consuming. It can be really mentally taxing for you too. The reason we say more value is better than more content is because if you're creating a ton of content that your audience doesn't really care about, then it doesn't mean anything for you and your business. If you're creating content that is of high value to your audience and that they engage with, they find helpful or informational or educational, or even just entertaining, that content is more likely to start building those relationships that you're looking to grow to convert people into paying clients and customers.
Alrighty, next up, we're going to talk about using that content that you've worked so hard to create and slicing and dicing that and using it for even more content, the content gift that keeps on giving you more content. So first up, talking about repurposing your long form content to be short form content is a fantastic way to maximize your efforts that you work so hard on to create, and that time that you put into those long form content to get it out there to new audiences and to reach just more traffic for your website. A few questions to ask about the content that you may want to repurpose. Is there more to be said about this topic? Do you have more to say? Do you have more to get out there? Do you have new ways to say the same stuff? Do you have the audience you didn't get to reach before? Are there ways you could reach the new audiences as well? Is this content that you created already popular with your main audience? If it is, it would be a great way to keep getting it out there, keep recycling it, and keep reaching that same audience and keep them coming back for more. Will this content make sense in the next 6 months or 1 year? Would it make sense for you to recycle it, keep using it, keep refreshing it, to keep getting it out there and making people want to hear from you and make them think, oh, they know what they're saying, they know what they're talking about? If the answer is yes to these questions, and you have a great candidate for repurposing this content into more forms of content for your business. Here I have a few examples for how you may repurpose your content in different ways. The best piece of content to repurpose is evergreen. It has long-term relevance, and long form, more than 2,000 words, is a great thing to use and pull back for into multiple forms of content going forward. Cornerstone content, white papers, ebooks, blogs are great places to look for content to repurpose. A few examples is turning blog posts into infographics or using them in podcast conversations, taking internal data and turning them into case studies, looking at your blog content, seeing if there is a video you could pull from that, or just a fun little animation you could create and to post on different platforms. Gathering more content from an ebook or a course that you may have seen, using that and pulling it into different little forms of content to get out to many different audiences. Using testimonials from different clients or different people who have worked with you and getting that out into maybe some social media content or video posts. Updating your old blog posts with new information more relevant to how social media and content is evolving every day. Utilizing statistics you may see for different social media posts, different blog posts, just offering contributions for new topics and getting just new discussions out there. Fresh content is a proven way to drive traffic to your website. It's a great way to show people you know what you're talking about. And a bonus tip would be link to your original post from like with those satellite pieces that you're getting out there and publish them somewhere other than your site. That way it'll drive multiple audiences to your website. And next up, some benefits of repurposing this content. Why not save yourself some time and effort? You put in so much time into creating that great long form piece. So why not go back and use that and stretching it even further and get more content out there? There are 4 learning styles. So if you're writing a blog post and you only post a blog post, this means you're not connecting with those 3 other non-text types of learners. People may want a visual look at something. They may not want to read entire blog posts. So why not go back and pull from that blog post and make an infographic or an animation or a video for those visual learners? Different content performs better on different platforms. The article you wrote for LinkedIn may not do as well on Facebook, but a video may do great on both. You have invested a lot of time into creating all this content, so repurposing allows you to squeeze every ounce of usefulness out of your hard work. Expand the reach of your content. Posting about the same article 9 times isn't going to get you very far. However, posting about 9 different pieces of content, however, allows you to reach far more people and different audiences. And then lastly, ranking better for keywords in your industry. The more content you produce about a topic that is important to your industry, the more likely you'll be seen as an influencer, which leads to more links and better ranking for your company. And then wrapping everything up, true repurposing requires that we alter it to make it fresh and appealing for a new audience. We're not saying the same thing over and over again, like I said, 9, 10 different times. You're taking what you've already worked so hard on and you're making it fresh and you're making it new for all those audiences that you want to reach that you may not have reached at the beginning.
Nicely done, Hannah. Can I just say that my inner kindergarten teacher is so happy that you talked about different learning styles. That makes me so happy. So, but kind of riffing more on what Abby and Hannah were talking about, your messaging needs to be tailored to a specific persona. It's hard to talk to an entire football team of players rather than taking one player off to the side on the sidelines. So we need to talk about personas per channel and why they're different. So just to get a running start, let's refresh our memories on what customer personas are and how they're used. So a persona is a focused human personalization of your target audience. So like I mentioned in my analogy just now, if your target audience is a team, your persona is a single player. And so this humanized version is created from an aggregation of personal details that you know about your target audience or audience segments. Things like what they do for a living, what their family is made of, what their day-to-day life is like, habits, influences, media consumption, things about their interests and values. What do they favor in terms of entertainment, education, news, media? What are their values? What's important to them in their life? What are their goals and challenges? Like Abby said, we have to be very mindful about what their needs are in order to be able to meet them where they're at. And then finally, how your business or your offer or your product or service addresses that particular need. So once we've aggregated all of that information, your customer persona in action is used to focus your keyword searches, to improve your SEO strategy, to refine and target your messaging, to prioritize your campaigns and activities. However, just like you, a persona changes with their environment. We've got to be mindful that you can't have the same message for your entire audience segment, for your entire target audience. So does that mean that you need multiple personas? Yes, you do. The key is understanding how each channel is being used. So just like people and just like demographic areas, your channels have their own unique use, unique culture, and even a unique language. So just like you would behave differently at a corporate workshop than you would at a neighborhood barbecue, you're the same person, but you have different goals and different environments. So we need to consider, what is that prospect using the channel for? They're going to use Facebook differently than they're going to use LinkedIn. They're going to use social media differently than they're going to use search. They're going to use the internet differently than they use video or cable media or television or movies in the movie theater. So understanding what they're using the channel for. Are they looking to be informed? Are they looking to get information to make a decision? Are they looking for reinforcement of their buying decision, social proof, risk mitigation? And then tailoring your message to the channel, you have to be mindful of your brand voice, your brand tone, your topic, and the nuanced takes that you have on those topics. And each of those is going to be different for each channel that you're targeting. Also, the key is to understand where that customer persona is in their levels of awareness. So understanding the buying journey, whatever stage they're in, from unawareness to most awareness ready to make a buying decision, they have different needs. Again, if it's general education, detailed information or demos of your product or solution, giving them the confidence that they need to say yes to your offer, we need to meet them where they're at. And lucky you, this is going to be a little sneak peek into what our next quarter's webinar focus is going to be on the customer journey. But understand that there's a nuance to every level of this awareness that needs to be captured in a different way on different channels. So my last nugget is needs change, so should personas.
Awesome. And that brings us to 2 audiences, 2 content strategies. And what do we mean when we say more than one audience? Nicole just very awesomely laid out how important it is to have a persona that embodies your target audience. But there are certain instances where you can have more than one audience and thereby require more than one persona. Ultimately, you need to think about who you're creating content for. That's something that Abby touched on in the beginning, right? It's important that your content is tailored to your audience, the needs that they have, how they like to process information, etc. And it's also important in this case to define your target audience based on their intent and how they relate to some of your overall business goals, right? So I have a couple of examples here in the case where you may have more than one audience that's looking for content and should be considered in your content strategy, whether that be, you're looking to attract prospective customers and move them through the customer journey, but you're also looking to hire some new employees. And that type of messaging, as well as the channels that you'll interact with those on, very different, right? Same goes with, content that you create to onboard new customers, whatever that may look like, versus people who have already gone through that process with you. And now it's really time to put content in front of them that really cements them as brand advocates for you, so you can continue to build your business over time. My last point here is that content may appeal to a particular audience, and it should be designed in a way that it's meant for somebody in mind, but your core messaging should stay the same. So you select your channel, you have some specific messaging, but at the end of the day, you do need to put forth a consistent brand and a consistent voice. And that may be a little bit hard to rectify at times, but it's just something to keep in mind, right? You're ultimately what you do and your mission and your values are the same. And it's just a matter of having those reflect in the right way, depending on the audience you're looking to speak to.
All right, so finally, what we want to cover is viral content and whether or not it means content success and whether that translates to business success. As professional content creators, I don't want to say that the question of going viral is a thorn in our sides, but I would maybe call it a burr on our sleeves.
It's certainly a question we get asked a lot, which is why it's number 5 of things we want you to know.
Certainly, yes. So this next slide, just to talk stats really quick. This stat is drawn from a Neiman study. If you don't know what Neiman is, they do a lot of really in-depth media studies, and they started with like TV, kind of when TV was a new thing as far as like advertising and how they wanted to study people's habits with TV and how they interacted with TV in their daily lives. This particular study found that 1% of 5,000 social videos go viral, and this was in 2017. So we're thinking pre-TikTok, okay? So 1% of 5,000 social videos will go viral. That is teeny, teeny, teeny tiny. What we're really getting at here is the chances of you going viral are maybe not 1 in a million so much anymore, but they are slim, and the return on that investment may not be huge. If you could click to the next slide, Erin. So there's a little bit of debate over how much going viral matters. First of all, what qualifies as viral? First of all, it varies per platform and per type of content, and loosely we can define it as a certain number of views in a short time frame. All of those like numerical criteria determined by platform and type of content. So it's really kind of like this nebulous thing that you can't really grab hold of. For your business, think about getting 1 million views in your next Facebook reel. That's huge, right? Like that's a lot of people with eyes on your content and theoretically eyes on your business. But of that 1 million, the number that actually become paying customers is slim. And this kind of goes back to what we were talking about before in creating value-rich content. When you create value-rich content, the people that are the right people for you to engage with that will eventually down the funnel, like Nicole was talking about, become paying customers, will engage with that value-rich content. Anybody can engage with something that you've played on a fun trend, but that doesn't mean that they're the type of people who are at all interested in your business. I will say in the age of TikTok, going viral is probably a lot easier because I could make a TikTok of my dog 10 minutes after this webinar is over and potentially go viral, right? But because it's easy on TikTok, that kind of diminishes its value and makes it almost more difficult on other platforms. And what we really want to make sure we're thinking about is making the right kind of content for the right kind of people. And if you're going viral, to use the term loosely, among that right audience, that matters way more than going viral among the general public.
Exactly. I think that's really well said. It's not to say that going viral isn't a great measure of increasing brand awareness, which certainly may be your goal, but ultimately, are all of those eyes from people that are actually going to do business with you? And have you mapped out that flow of, say, my content becomes really popular and does really well, and I do get a lot of views and engagement, what have you, what does that mean for my bottom line?
Mhm.
All righty. So those are our top 5 things that we wish you knew. We've got a little bit of time left, and we've left it intentionally. So any questions you have now, we're happy to stick on for a couple minutes.
Yeah, you can feel free to use the chat function or the Q&A function, whichever one of those appeals best to you.
I just can't help thinking about the last slide about whether it would be more meaningful to go viral with 1 million people or to have my target audience view my little piece of content a million times, knowing that they're invested.
Mhm.
I think that's such an amazing, way to put it in perspective, that virality just happens. It should never be a goal.
Right. Right.
Right. When we think about the whole of the customer journey too, say, yeah, your one video does great, but oftentimes to really move customers through the journey, they're not interacting with a single piece of content and then making the decision to do business with you, right? They're
Right.
seeing your viral video maybe, but then maybe they go to your website. They look at 2 of your blogs. They think, oh, now I think I know that they're experts. They know what they're talking about. And so it's a combination of content more often than not
Mhm.
that really sells somebody
Mhm.
and moves them through that journey.
That was really well said, Erin.
Can you
Thanks.
expand on that too a little bit, that it's going to be more than just a single touch point that's going to lead to a conversion, that distributing your content, to Hannah's point, you seeding the internet with your information gives you a much better chance of connecting, and then by connecting, then converting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Hannah's point is a great example of it, just in terms of you have a great long form piece of content, but say you've put it out on your website. Not everybody is going to find it on your website. It's important to distribute it through your channels. And then because it's evergreen and you've designed it in that way, you're able to refer back to it in your ongoing posts. And so new people that follow you just at that time, or the algorithm finally puts a post of yours in front of that audience, they finally come to that longer piece of content. But again, it's a matter of, you don't want to only put out that one piece of content until the end of time and hope that somebody bites, but you want to continue to show that you offer value. And that really does help in converting people to do business with you.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really well said, Erin. Awesome.
Righty. Well, if we didn't answer your questions, or you think of a question later, you want to reach out to us, all of our contact information is here. We'd love to hear from you. We are certainly very passionate about content. We live and breathe it day to day. So please reach out. Let us know how we can help.
Thanks so much for joining us.